Okay, so let's get this thing going. I'm starting a little bit earlier, and you'll have maybe seen that I did a preliminary video just to get things moving a little bit. So from last time, what I've done is found myself the opposite end of the pre-prepared one. I've created the rebate and put the baseline in and the miters, basically all exactly the same as I did in video 1. So now I just need to mark up for the tails from the board we created last time. So this is the pin board. Need to get those marked onto there so we can cut them out. So I've just got this little piece cut out, L-shaped cut out in the vise here. That'll hold the edge of this nice and tight and allow me to put this one, pin board, on top of the tail board, lined up to the baseline of the joint. And so it's all nice and lined up. Take an awl and scratch in for the tails. And also scratch in for the miters. But you see, I had actually penciled in the miters for when I did the preliminary cuts in there. And so you can see what I've done. I'll just go over that with the pencil. That doesn't look too clear, that one, so let's see if I can do that one again. So I did the some of those initial things early on because I need to get away for, I dare say, more important, slightly more important meeting after this. So that's marked out for the tails. I just need to square those across the top, back across that rebate. And I'll use my Secret Mitre dovetail gauge, which has got the 90-degree point on it. So miters, we've got that one, this tail, that one, and this one. Next tail, oops, not quite the right place. Just check those over by eye to make sure I'm happy with them. I think that one could be slightly that way. Cut between those lines. Okay, so I'll raise that up a little bit. We're going to be cutting again down to the baseline of the joint and to the tip of the little rebate there. So for the miters, that's straight down. See, I pre-cut these miters so they should fall away when we get far enough down. Now tracking the lines for the tails. important thing here is the parallel lines across the rebate. Now I can extend the mitre cuts to take out that extra material. But just remember when you do that, the tail is at an angle, so you don't want to cut the same depth this end as that end. Not quite there. There we go. And then we've got to remove the waste between the pins, and also we've got to remove the waste for the pins to go into the ends. So just re-establish, oops, that's the wrong one. Re-establish those marks. Normally I would have marked those down a bit further, but I didn't, which is a pain. So just quickly marking in. There and there. So I'm cutting in here, which will be relieving for the pins. I'm just going to pair it. And as I said, when I did the pins before, we used the sawn area here as a guide for the chisel. So rest the back of the chisel on that. Just keep everything in the same plane. and very little pressure if you're pairing with the grain, just taking very thin cuts. And remember to put this backer board in, especially on something soft like this. You could very easily push a chisel right through. And same on this side. And then let's chop this one, or at least start by chopping. Let's see if there are any questions. Evening, Strenick. Strenick seems to be the only one here, I think. Only one commenting anyway. Hands tooth secret mitre dovetail, yeah, perhaps not. Is there really any point in that one? Chisel. Oil on the vice, Strenick. Yeah, but if you put oil on your vice and you drop something down and it hits the screw, you get oil all over your work as well, which isn't great. But actually this is the squeeze that screw up against part of the wood, so I may need to check that. Now let's just go down to the baseline. think I can probably bring it back to the vise now. I don't think I've chopped quite as deep as I might, but you can't see a lot when I'm chopping, so let's put it back in here. How's the focusing going tonight? Played around with the camera settings, but I don't know whether they save them for use with other applications. And there seemed to be no way to do it from within the streaming part of YouTube. Once again, we get left with what is a tight corner, so we could use a skew chisel. Probably okay. Now if I put my chisel on there, push it down, just check that it's coming out like this, because we want to make sure that they're undercut, level, but not overcut. Overcut. We don't want any waste material that's going to hold the joint apart, is basically what I'm trying to say. The same for all of these sockets. I think they're okay. So I've just finished off the mitre. Try and clamp that up. Remember I lined this up last time. Same thing tonight. That's almost spot on, that'll do for me. Take away the worst of that material. Oops. Oh, well, that's ruined it. Must have chopped a bit deep on. So I'll split the back of that section out. The fix for that is when you glue it, make sure you've got a block on the back as you glue it up, and that piece gets stuck back in. But definitely don't remove it before you do anything, because you'll never get it back in exactly the same position. So it just makes this a little bit awkward. Problem you probably wouldn't have if you were doing it in hardwood. Right, let's see. Oh, that's right. The little tip I gave you last time was just knock these corners off, in case there's any waste in the sockets. Same with the pins. So it's tight, as you can see. It looks from my screen as if things are buffering, so that's a shame. There we go. So, not bad. Not bad. Recall I was trying to make it similar to the other joint, so let's see where that one goes together. That one won't, for sure. That one. Yeah, and that goes together as well. And so presumably that one and that will go together. Just slightly tighter this one. Okay, well, I'm happy with that. The one mistake that you saw happening there was, gosh, that's gone tighter now. So the one mistake we had, I chopped too deeply here, came right the way through, which meant that piece wanted to move around. So that won't happen in hardwood because you'll have much more resilience. But that's not too bad, especially for a rushed joint. The other one, again, there we go. So, the secret Mitre dovetail, well, it's come apart now a bit. Secret Mitre dovetail. People tell you it's really difficult. It's quite difficult, but it's not that much of a step on from ordinary joinery. And if you just take your time, practice it, you better do it yourself. So I'll just take a quick look at the chat before I disappear. Yes, I've got to get off quickly today. Focus better than last time, that's good. But buffering is a problem. Evening Midnight Joker. Thank you. Right, well, so I've got to rush off. Any questions in the comments and I'll answer those. So thanks for joining me and see you next time. Cheerio.